Hey, what's happening, family? It's your man, Mark Black. Happy Hump Day to all of you. Welcome to another broadcast. Um, Before I even get started, I want to apologize in advance. I just noticed during the kind of intro, the time I give you guys to show up and get settled in, which, by the way, make sure you grab yourself something to drink, something to eat, right? I'm not going to keep you long tonight because, of course, you all know our sister Yvette's broadcasting today, and I know we're all going to want to watch her. So, but make sure that you get comfortable, right? Because I've got to talk about something today that I want you guys to be settled in for. I need you sharp, right? So if you need to grab a drink, grab a snack, grab a whatever you need, make sure you do that. But I wanted to apologize that during the intro it still says Sucker Free Saturday. Family, being a YouTuber is a constant state of learning new technology, learning new methods and procedures for doing different things. I make mistakes, and so when I see them, I catch them, I note them, and I work on fixing them. So I'm gonna work on fixing that to make sure that the next broadcast will actually after that one, because the next broadcast will be Sucker Free Saturday. Everything is all straight and squared away for you guys because I want to make it no frills, but I do want to make it tight and make it right. So before we get started, fam, as per usual, welcome to the broadcast. Down below in the description field of every video, there are links to resources, reports, things like that to help you understand what it is that we're doing as a part of the advocacy for you and I, to help you get sharp. There are also links there to support what it is that I do, fam. It is completely voluntary. There's no scamming. Whatever you give me, I use to eat. All right. And so I'm not sitting here fundraising for nothing or anything like that. Right. So whatever you feel comfortable giving, if you're inspired to, if the spirit's on you and you want to contribute something to your brother's work, those links are there available for you too as well. So let's go ahead and get started. One last thing. Got about 13 or so watching. Many of you already know, but in case you don't, the house rule is you don't have to participate in the chat. You don't have to say anything, right? But if you hear, let us know you hear. Knock on the door. Put your name in there so I can make sure to shout you out. Let's do that before we even get started. We've got, of course, Miss Denny's in the house. Minutes till dawn. I see you, fam. Loved your last broadcast, by the way. Great video. My brother in logic and mentality, brother Zulu's in the house. Black Man 903. What it do? What it do? Right? We got brother John Anderson in the house. Namaste. To brother John Anderson, I see you, fam. Tab Liquors in the house, top of the afternoon to it's only top of the afternoon to us because we on the west side, right? Easy be easy in the house. B1 all day long. I see you, fam. Christopher Clipper, where you been, fam? I been here. Where you been? Long time no see. Good to see you. Happy Hump Day. Old boy Peach representing. I see you. All right, fam. Let's go ahead and jump into the broadcast now. I try not to do clickbaity titles, you know what I mean? I figure I want my broadcast titles to at least reflect what it is that I'm going to talk about. So the mention of the city of Charlottesville in the title is not clickbait. No, nothing new happened in Charlottesville. Let me get that straight. I'm not saying there was an incident in Charlottesville that we're going to talk about today, other than the one we're all familiar with, okay? But Charlottesville ties in perfectly with what we're going to talk about today. What actually was the inspiration for today's broadcast was a broadcast that I watched because, as you well know, by the way, shout out to Void Ninja, happy Hump Day, and welcome to the broadcast. As you guys all well know, I'm not only an ADOS advocate, right? A proponent for, our justice claim, representing our people, right? I'm also a consumer of content. Made in Dade's in the house, by the way. Welcome to the broadcast, fam. I see you and happy Hump Day, right? I'm a consumer of content just like you. I have various social media outlets that I view, watch, right? And my tastes are as eclectic as you could possibly imagine. I watch a lot of science content, so shout out to SciShow and shout out to Answers with Joe. You know, I watch a lot of black content, right? You know, and I'm talking about it spans the spectrum. I watch people that you would consider, you know, like the black pro blacks, like Michi X. Shout out to Michi X, right? You know, I watch everything, right? So the reason why I do that, fam, is pretty simple. First of all, I find even most people's bad arguments or bad broadcasts to be interesting, right? It's always interesting because, see, fam, what you guys don't understand is that we, as these sort of new black media personalities or the people that you watch, when we talk with you, when we have discussions with you, when we do broadcasts for you, we're telling you a lot of not just about the subject matter, not just about yourselves, but we're telling you about us too, right? So it's always interesting, even with a bad broadcast, like an absolutely crappy broadcast, to learn about the person behind the camera, right? To see their train of thought, their logic. By the way, shout out to Quentin Mayo. I see you, fam. Happy Hump Day and welcome to the broadcast. Right? I get to learn about the person on the other side of the camera. What motivations drive them? What do they be thinking about? How do they think? Brother Travis, aka Black Dollars University, is in the house. So glad to see you, fam, and happy Hump Day to you. Right? Zulu said, I enjoy listening to different folks as it allows me to sharpen my skills and learn. Exactly. Right? Listening to different points of view, fam, doesn't diminish you. It makes you better. Right? How do you think that the people you like to listen to become so sharp? Because they've already been exposed, most cases, to arguments, to ideas, to thought processes that you're not necessarily familiar with. Shout out to Cool Unc. I see you, fam. Welcome to the broadcast and happy Hump Day to you. Ted Goodman, B1, fam, I see you. Welcome to the broadcast, right? So as somebody who is dedicated to providing education and inspiration to my people, I have to watch a lot. I have to study a lot of different topics. I constantly read psychological stuff, you know, physics stuff, economic stuff, you name it, fam. If it's something that I think that my people need to know, your boy's gonna watch it. Okay? So there was a video done by a brother. Some of you are familiar with him. Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. Whether you agree with the brother on his content or not, he's definitely interesting as hell to watch. He's oftentimes very funny. Yes, Void, I watch a lot of math content. I watch a lot of different stuff. O'Shea recently did a broadcast after the whole Michi X and Tariq kerfluffle, right? Shout out to my beloved sister, Pretty Muslima. Salaam alaikum to you, right? You're right, Dr. Miles. That's exactly what I be on, right? You know, but he recently did a broadcast where the title of the broadcast was supposedly discussing the issue with, O'Shea is wild, was discussing the recent kerfluffle with Michi X and Tariq Nasheed. As many of you, I'm certain, know, Michi X had words for Tariq about the FBA conference, okay? And that was what it was. I'm not bringing this up to bring that back into the thing, you know. But what ended up happening was a really interesting discussion about ADOS, about ADOS, right? And he talked about why he felt, in his opinion, because the videos that we do are part information if we decide to bring it, but a lot of the content that many of us black YouTubers like to watch and that many black YouTubers produce is more opinion-based than factual. This is not to slight O'Shea at all, right? This is just simply to say that the broadcast was basically about his opinion. But he was stating in his opinion why he believed that FBA was a thing over ADOS, or alongside ADOS, to be more precise. Shout out to Alma, brother Double Cease in the house. I see you, fam. Welcome to the broadcast. And essentially, what it nailed down to was FBA, Tariq's Foundational Black Americans thing, is a thing for people who won't support ADOS. Well, who wouldn't support the American descendants of slavery, right? It's a lineage. Like, you're either ADOS or you're not, right? Same with FBA. To me, Foundational Black American, ADOS, right? Descendants of American chattel slavery, so on and so forth. All of these designations are designed for one thing, for the ready identification of a specific and unique lineage group, an ethnic group, if you will. Yes, that's what I'm saying, black man. These are all the same thing. When you all use them, my B1 brigadiers, I see you as ADOS, because only ADOS are about that B1 life here in the United States of America, right? My foundational Black Americans, fam. When I see you, I see ADOS. Because only foundational, only ADOS people, in my opinion, right? In other words, only those who share that lineage are holding on to the title of FBA, of Foundational Black Americans, right? If you DOS, the descendants of American slavery, right? You're saying the same thing. When I see, we are all exactly the same. We are all talking about honoring, upholding, cleaving to a specific lineage, a specific line of descent, a specific heritage, and a specific ethnicity. So for me, I don't understand how we can even talk about terms like supporting ADOS, right? If you say stuff like that, it only makes sense when you're referring to people who don't share our lineage or share our heritage, right? If you're talking about our fellow white citizens or other ethnic groups that immigrated here from other places, or the Aboriginals or Native Americans or whatever the case may be, right? Then you can use terms like support ADOS. But if you're already of this lineage, of this lineal descent, of this heritage, the idea of saying supporting FBA because you can't ride with ADOS, to me it's nonsense. Like, I can't even process the statement logically in my head, because to say those things as who we are implies something that we are not. But we'll get to it. So when asked, because there were people who were FBA, ADOS, who watch O'Shea, including myself, when asked, well, why wouldn't you support ADOS? He brought up the questionable, in his words, not mine, the questionable sexuality or sexual identification or sexual preference of our beloved sister, Mama Yvette Carnell, right? He talked about how, and he made sure to never go and say that he knew it for sure, because he didn't know, but he talked about the fact that she is lesbian and that she allegedly has a white partner, okay? And I'll admit, I don't always agree with O'Shea, but one thing I will never accuse the brother being is a bad actor, right? He usually has some rationale for what he thinks or what he's speaking on that is at least sensible, that at least is intelligible, right? Universal Mike is in the house. Hey, fam, I see you. Brother Ted, peace. Peace. Right? So, fam, you guys are having in the chat a very similar reaction to what I had. And I'm like, wait a minute. What the hell does that have the price to do with the price of tea in China? She's still ADOS. Then there were intimations that she's racially ambiguous, although she's made clear to us what her lineage is, right? At the ADOS conference, we saw her mother, right? We know what her lineage is, but she's light-skinned and so on and so forth, right? So people started making intimations about her ethnic lineage and this, that, and the third, right? Okay, you dig? So it was like once O'Shea once O'Shea expressed that her lesbianism and her choice of mate and all this stuff was kind of open topic, everybody else that was already kind of set against her felt free to express the things that they thought about her, whether it was wrong or right. Okay. And I got to admit, fam, I was beyond outraged, beyond angry at O'Shea. And I mean, I actually was blocked briefly from chatting in his chat because of some posts that I made. Not personal. I never attacked people, but I was attacking the shit out of this idea, right? He said that I know, by the way, thank you, Ms. Denny, for the super chat. I really do appreciate the support. He said, I know intellectually y'all all right. But to quote him, niggas don't listen to intellectual shit. Oh, really? So he made all of these different comments going on, right? Fam, go to his channel and look it up. I know it was sometime last week, right? I think maybe like Friday of last week. At any rate, it went from talking about the whole Michi X Tariq thing to discussing that her sexual identification or sexual preference meant that we need FBA for the Negroes that won't ride with ADOS. That was his argument. FBA is the non-LGBT, etc., whatever, for ADOS. Okay. Then it hit me, fam. Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. And once it hit me, I was calm. Absolutely calm. What O'Shea was saying was more of an indictment on himself and ADOS, FBA, B1, people who think like him, than it was on Yvette. And don't worry, we're going to talk about it today. You see, fam, because there was an incident in Charlottesville that highlights exactly the problem that is needed for us to overcome, for us to do the needful as foundational Black Americans, ADOS, DOAS, B1 Brigade. We got an issue that we need to overcome. And Charlottesville reflects that issue. Let's talk about Charlottesville for a second, shall we? In Charlottesville, as all of you know, there was a march of thousands of white supremacists. Thousands of them. They flew in, we now know, in hindsight, from all over the country to descend upon Charlottesville. Afro Troop O'Shea, as far as I know, is ADOS. He's not Nigerian. He's ADOS. And O'Shea, to be fair, tries to shock people and upset people. he finally succeeded with me at that broadcast, and I haven't watched him since, although I have not unsubscribed to the brother. I don't have to agree with him, right? As a matter of fact, I'm actually grateful because he gave me an opportunity to help teach my people an object lesson. In Charlottesville, during this march, you had our fellow white citizens from all over the country. Matter of fact, I've even heard rumors, because I do also follow right-wingers too as well. I watch right-wing and alt-right content too. Oh, yes, I do. I have read the Turner Diaries. I have an account on Stormfront. I've engaged with dialogue with hardened, avowed, dyed-in-the-wool white supremacists. You have to, right? We as ADOS, as foundational Black Americans, right? We have to get past this thing that we don't want to hear nobody who ain't talking what we talking. You have to know how these people think. You have to know the ideas they're expounding, because the Bible says that our fight isn't with flesh and blood, but with principalities and powers in high places. Now, I'm not religious, right? I don't believe in demons or literal angels. But to me, that's saying that our fight is on the chessboard of the mind. We got to fight these high-sitting ideas that are sitting in the top of people's minds. So you have to know what these people are thinking. You have to know what they're saying. Right? You've got to read 88 precepts. You have to read stuff like the 48 laws of power. You have to know what ideas are percolating through the greater society at large. There were white supremacists who traveled to America to attend the rally in Charlottesville. Now, I have something that I want to read to you guys. Give me a second here to find it. Because I had it up. The Unite the Right rally was what this thing was called. Okay? Now, the Unite the Right rally was just that. It was an opportunity for all of these right-wing, we call them, white supremacists to get together and come together and announce that they are together. Now, I want to read to you something from the Wikipedia article that discusses the Unite the Right rally, okay? The Unite the Right rally was a white supremacist rally that occurred in Charlottesville, Virginia from August 11th to 12th, 2017. Protesters were members of the far right and included self-identified members of the alt-right, neo-Confederates, neo-fascists, white nationalists, neo-Nazis, Klansmen, Blue Lives Matter, and various right-wing militias. The marchers chanted racist and anti-Semitic slogans, carried semi-automatic rifles, Nazi and neo-Nazi symbols such as the swastika, Odel Rune, Black Sun, and Iron Cross, the Valknut, Confederate battle flags, Deus Vult flags. Deus Vult is Latin for God wills it. It's basically a crusader flag. And other symbols of various past and present anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim groups. When I read further into the article, and again, this is Wikipedia, so you can argue the veracity of the article, but I don't think there's any need to do that, right? These are some of the groups that were involved in the Unite the Right rally. The Stormer book clubs, right, from the Daily Stormer, or what you guys know of as Stormfront, right, because it's now called the Daily Stormer, right? People from the National Policy Institute, the four groups that form the Nationalist Front. Thank you, Alicia, for the super chat. I appreciate the support. Vanguard America, the National Socialist Movement, the Ku Klux Klan, specifically the Loyal White Knights and the Confederate White Knights branches, the Fraternal Order of Alt Knights, the American Identitarian Group Identity Europa, the Southern California-based group Rise Above Movement, the American Guard, the Detroit Right Wings, right? True Cascadia, which is the Canada base, because remember, white supremacy is everywhere. The Canada base alt-right Montreal, the hammer skiing Nazis, and anti-communist action, unquote. There were also militia groups that were represented, specifically the Pennsylvania Lightfoot Militia, the New York Lightfoot Militia, the Virginia Minutemen Militia, and the Three Percenters. Now, why is it that I wanted to read to you from that article? Because first of all, I want you to understand one very, 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 very important thing. They came together in Charlottesville bearing different names. The National Socialist Front, the Knights of the Alt-Right, the Confederate White Knights, Identity Europa, the Three Percenters. They had different flags. Fam, when you look at pictures of the Charlottesville rally, you'll see the Confederate battle flag flying alongside the neo-Nazi flag with the bent swastika, right? You'll see the old swastika flag. You saw that alongside a 3% flag, right? You then saw that alongside a Crusader flag. They came wearing different clothes. Your skinheads, of course, had the hair shaved, and most of them probably had on Doc Martens and, and those suspenders, they call them bracers. I know, like I said, I'm familiar with skins. There's different types of skinheads. There's hammer skins and, sharps and so on and so forth, right? All these different skinhead groups. Sharps are actually anti-racist skinheads. For those of you who didn't know, they're actually skinheads that are against racism. Sharps stand for skinheads against racial prejudice. But they weren't a part of the rally, right? Unless they were anti or counter protesters. But they were down there in different modes of dress. Some wore, like battle dress clothing or fatigue style clothing. Some wore khaki pants and black shirts. Some wore, short pants and t-shirts. Richard Spencer, as you all well know, wears a suit. He wears a shirt and tie, button up. Milo Yiannopoulos, another right-wing, alt-right commentator, is a flaming gay dude who dresses up in fashionable Italian stuff and so on and so forth, right? So they came down there waving different flags, bearing different names, wearing different clothing, having different sexual orientations, having different socioeconomic statuses, having different levels of education. You had people down there who were high school dropouts, and you had people down there who supported the rally that had PhDs. Charlottesville was a slice of white supremacy. Exactly. Identity Europa specifically recruits among college students. So why am I talking about them? Why am I bringing up Charlottesville? That poor little white girl got killed down there by white supremacists and this, that, and the third. Yep, I knew you was, Tim. Here's why we talking about it. Because there was a lesson from Charlottesville that many of us still have yet to take away. And it is to our detriment as a people. They united around the one tie that binds: their support of white domination, continued white supremacy. That was what Charlottesville was all about. That was what it was all about, fam. That was what it was all about. This is above debate at this point. Regardless of their particular ideologies, regardless of whether one was neo-Nazi or one was Klan, right? Regardless of whether or not one called himself a racist or a white supremacist or a white separatist or a militiaman or an identitarian. Regardless of any of that, they were organized around the one tie that binds them all: their continued desire for white domination and white supremacy, not just here in the United States, but globally. Thank you so much, Cool Unc, for the love, man. I appreciate it. That's the one lesson, beloved, that we have still failed to take away from Charlottesville. And how do I know that? Because O'Shea is not the only one that thinks the way he does. As a matter of fact, he attempted to buttress his arguments during the broadcast by going to the chat, just like I do. And I say, hey, put a 1 in the chat if you X. Chat blew up. There were so many that agreed with him. That her being lesbian, her having a white partner, precludes her from ever having anything legitimately to say about the goals, aims, aspirations, and especially holding any type of thought leader, influencer position as Ada, as an ADOS woman. He's not the only one who thinks that way. He's not the only one that thinks that anybody who isn't blackity black on black, y'all, everything, all black, everything, don't have the right to talk about ADOS, don't have the right to talk about FBA, don't have anything to say on the descendants of American slavery. He's not the only one. And you see, fam, ADOS exists to create for us the tie that binds us all. The golden chain that can never be broken. So you see, fam, the fact that this type of rhetoric, this type of thinking is still extant within our community, within our tribe, shows you just how far we have to go. This is not a critique. This is not a critique. This is not your brother shitting on you, right? But this is letting you know, remember, we have to pay attention to the signposts, right? Each one of us are warners, right? We are guides for each other if we're doing this thing right. We have to listen to the guides. We have to pay attention to the signposts so we know where we are and where we're going. We, as ADOS, as foundational Black Americans, as the descendants of American chattel slavery, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. O'Shea is just indicative, right? He is symptomatic if you want to be less nice about it. But he's indicative of the strain of thought that says, yeah, you ADOS, but yeah, I'll rock with ADOS, but You see, fam, I have often heard it said by various people who seek to blame us as black folk for our position here in the United States, that if we would only do X, or if we would only do Y, we could defeat white supremacy. And I'll be honest with you, I have rarely, if ever, been convinced by any of those, if we would only do X, Y, and Z, white supremacy would die tomorrow. Bullshit, right? However, those who say that black unity or ADOS unity or FBA unity or B1 unity is the key are never wrong. It's the one thing that this country has always feared. No, Muslima, it is not a critique. It is a diagnosis. If you will, Dr. Mark Black is in the house, and I'm diagnosing our people with an illness, a mental illness that continues to cripple us. It's not a critique. The fact is that what O'Shea had to say was pretty much the common thought process whenever you get a group of us together. I rocks with that nigga, but I don't rock with that. And we have a myriad of reasons, fam. That's the crazy part, right? We only need one reason to unite. Well, Tam, I can't speak to whether or not you take it as a critique. I said it's not a critique. It's a diagnosis. It's a fact, not a critique. I'm not holding an opposing position. This idea is an illness and it permeates us. How is that a critique? It's clear what this is about, right? We only need one thing to unite us, but we have become experts at finding the 50 million things that will atomize us. Oh, pick your poison, fam. Whatever you want to use to deny the tie that binds you with other ADOS, you can find it. Oh, them niggas is nerds. I can't fuck with them nerdy niggas like that. Man, I ain't really with them street cats like that. Man, them niggas is broke. I can't fuck with no broke niggas. Oh, man, he think he better than me because he went to college. You can find 1,000,001 different reasons. If your motivation is to atomize, to blow apart, but we only need one reason to unite. Trust me, fam, those white supremacists down there in Charlottesville is just as crazy, just as cliquish, just as nuts as we are, to a certain extent. Recently, Milo Yiannopoulos just released audio where Richard Spencer went in after Charlottesville on this racist, hate-filled rant, as if us knowing that Richard Spencer wasn't racist was a thing. Right? So they have their cliques, they've got their cults of personality, they've got their preferences, they go back and forth on who's fucking who and who's dating who and who likes who and who organizes who. They are no different than we are. Except in one thing. When it comes time to stand up for the one thing, they have that idea in mind. That one thing for them is the continued maintenance of white domination and white supremacy. All the beef, all the bullshit, all the rancor that they have, if there was ever, and there will be another one, if there was ever another Unite the Right rally, they would all be there. Why? Because white supremacy, white domination, white power. That's the tie that binds. That's the tide that goes across all socioeconomic strata, all religious thought, all sexual orientation or identity or preference. It goes across everything. Everything. We got 50,000. No, we've got 1,000,000 ways to break apart, to atomize. But Neely Fuller said white supremacy plays both sides of the argument. He's absolutely right, because white supremacy is on the right and white supremacy is on the so-called left too, which we are now, as ADOS, as proponents of this political advocacy that we're on, we're just now discovering, wait a minute, Democrats is racist too. It's a shock to many of you that all these years we've been listening to and supporting soft racists, the racists who give just as little of a shit about you and your lineage and your heritage and your justice claim. The only difference between them and the right is that the soft racists are too damn lazy to kill you. They'll just do it through neglect, through wordplay, through messing with your head, through gassing you up. Hope and change, black people. Hope and change. Hope and change. You remember that? We got gassed up with a whole bunch of hope. But the banks got the change. We're surrounded on all sides by white supremacists. That is as true as it has been always. No, Pretty Muslima, stop. Because just because somebody has something to say about what it is that we're facing or we're experiencing, it's not always an attack. You cannot heal without a diagnosis. Right? I have an illness, but I don't know what my illness is. And so I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. I don't know how to treat my illness. I need a diagnosis so that I can see my way to a treatment or to maintenance of my condition clearly. Damn it, it ain't going to always be sunshine, cookies, and light when we talk about the topics that we need to address. The elephant in the room is, family, is that O'Shea isn't wrong. I'm not saying I agree with him. What I'm saying is he's not wrong in that there are a majority probably out there of people that would have no problem with ADOS if just presented with ADOS. But as soon as they get involved in personality worship or looking at people's lifestyle habits or, the socioeconomic strata of where some of these people come from, you lose them. That's not a critique. That is a fact. That is an actual fact. And it won't matter what they say. It won't matter that Yvette has spent literally years trying to understand what our condition is, why we find out where we are in this condition, and so on and so forth. It won't matter any of that. It won't matter that she has worked incessantly and continues to work incessantly for the betterment, for the remediation, the restoration, and the repair of our people, right? It don't matter. None of that. All of that is cast to the trash heap of history because Yvette might like women. And God forbid she might find a white one she likes. That's a sickness. And it permeates the interactions between us. So you can't have ADOS and FBA and DOAS and BADASS and DACS and B1. No, you can't have them and we all just be on one accord with each other. We can't just all just get along. No. Now you got to take the one weapon that our enemy wields to better effect than we do. The one weapon of identity. And tear that weapon to pieces. You take the firing pin out, you pull the magazine out, and you throw the damn slide away. And then you wonder why you're disarmed on the field of battle. There are people who brought up the fact that Tariq's wife is of mixed ethnicity. Some have called her white. You know what O'Shea said? She black enough for me. Right? There's no rational arguments you can make when people are looking for a reason to break away from you, to break apart, to atomize. They don't want to hear, family, your data. They don't want to hear the facts. They don't want to hear that white Americans control 90% of the wealth and ADOS Americans only control 2%. They don't want to hear that. They don't care. They don't care. If they find out that you're not religious, oh, I can't fuck with nobody who don't even believe in God like that. And it doesn't matter what else you say. This is a long-standing habit, a long-standing illness, like a fever that lurks beneath the surface of every ADOS person that you can imagine. Some of the sweetest, nicest folk who claim to be your besties, who love you, if they knew everything about you, would hate you. If they ADOS, they would hate you. Because they would inevitably find something out about you, the person, that they don't like. And for us, it ain't never about the work. It ain't never about the ideas. It's about the feelings. O'Shea said, niggas don't care about intellectual shit. I took hella offense to that. Hella offense. What are you saying, that black folk can't walk and chew bubble gum? That we can't look at ID? Right, but was the brother wrong when he stated clearly an idea that has no grounding, no basis whatsoever in any rational train of logic, any chain of thought, and had a whole bunch of people co-sign? Can I say the brother was wrong? That was his critique, by the way, not mine. I'm atheist too, Quentin, and I'll be damned if I wasn't up there clapping during the hymns and the singing and all this and that and the third. I had no problem with the fact that the conference was in a church or nothing, because it was not about that for me. There were people who said they will never fuck with Yvette because of comments that she made about Francis Cress Welsing and Farrakhan. Again, if you're looking for reasons to shard off, to be separate, to go your own way and do your own thing, that's enough. You don't want to hear shit else. You don't care about anything else Yvette has done. And that, family, is the lesson from Charlottesville. That's the lesson from Charlottesville. Different flags, different names, different uniforms, different social economic strata, different everything, different educational attainment, different everything. Alicia, it doesn't matter if she apologized or not, fam. I'm saying it's not enough to disqualify her from sharing in the work and sharing in the fruits of the benefits of our lineage. It is what it is. To be quite frank, fam, I don't care if Yvette's gay. Yvette puts in the work, and thus plus she shares my lineage. She shares my heritage. We're lucky because the tie that binds whites is actually weaker than the tie that binds us. Because whites don't share the same lineage, the same heritage. Some of them are English, some of them are Welsh, some of them are Irish, some of them are German, some of them are Norwegian. They don't share the same history, the same lineage. The tie that links them up is a tie that only has power so long as white supremacy provides benefits. You and I have access to a tie that can never be broken because you are the child of your mother and father. I am the child of my mother and father, who is the child of their mother and father, in a golden chain that stretches all the way back to the killing fields of the plantation. We have the opportunity, fam, to cleave to ourselves. And they've tried to kill us and they can't. White supremacy as an ideology can be destroyed, can be combated, can be beaten. But who you come from can never be deleted because you come from who you come from. They cannot kill your ancestry. They can't discredit your lineage. But here we are at a place where we need to purge, to have a purgative, right? To get the poison out of our system of this sectarianism, of this desire to, I can't fuck with them niggas. That needs to leave our vocabulary. That whole idea. If you're ADOS, FBA, B1, DOAS, DACS, whatever acronym you organize around, or whatever personality you think you follow, whatever, if you share my heritage and my lineage, fam, all the rest of the bullshit doesn't matter to me. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care how you living. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what your educational attainments are. I don't care what the lack of educational attainments are. I don't care how well spoken you are or how quiet and insular you are. Because we have a tie that nobody can break. The lesson from Charlottesville is that all of that bullshit can be put aside. And when I say bullshit, fam, I don't mean that your identity is bullshit. I have Muslims in my chat. Salam alaikum. Right? I have Hebrews in my chat. Shalom, shalom. I have people who are spiritual in my chat, and I greet them with namaste. The God in me sees the God in you, right? So I got different religious folk who are all members of the Angry Black Sheep. And this is their home too. I got people in my chat who are not religious, including myself. I'm atheist. I've got atheists that rock with me. And guess what? My atheist fam are just as loved by me as any of my religious family. I've got gay, lesbian, transgender, probably bisexual people in my chat. And you know what? My LGBTQ ADOS B1 fam, this is their home just like it is for anybody else. I've got high school dropouts like myself, and I've got PhDs in the chat. We have a tie that can never be broken should we choose to open our eyes and just simply pick it up. It's the greatest weapon we have, and it's really, truly the only weapon that has any real long-term possibility of defeating our historic and current oppressors. How else y'all think we gonna defeat white supremacy when we can't even end the sectarian bullshit amongst ourselves? I'm not calling for us to unify. We already are unified. We have a tie that even though you deny it, you can't break it. That's how powerful ADOS is. That's how powerful FBA is. That's how powerful B1 is. We already have a tie that even you in your foolish, insular, crazy making desire to blow your people to smithereens, to atomize us apart. We have a tie already you can't break. And the only thing you do is stretch out the length of time it will take for us to focus on what we need to focus on by trying to break it. You're not going to break our lineage. You're not going to break our heritage no more than the white supremacists have been able to. You just make it hard. You just make it harder for us to do the work, for us to put in do the politics, for us to do the economics, for us to do the lineage therapy and the healing that we need, for us to link up across, ecumenical lines. I need my Muslim brothers to be getting with my Hebrew brothers, to be getting with my Christian brothers, to be getting with my Jewish brothers, to be getting with my motherfucking atheist brothers, right? So we need to come across ecumenical lines. right? You just make it harder. You don't stop the process. You cannot. You cannot kill my lineage. You just make it more difficult. ADOS, the lesson from Charlottesville is wave whatever flag you want to wave. Dress however you want to dress. Live with whoever you want to live with. Do whatever you want to do. There is a myriad of ways to be ADOS. There is as many ways to be ADOS, to be FBA, to be one, to be all of that, as there are us. Each one of us bring our own individual flair, our own individual thought processes or lack of thought processes to the table. So there's as many ways to be us as there is us. So I'm not going to sit here as your brother and demand that you be a certain way to cater to me, to please me, to make me happy. I'm not asking you to trade in one oppressor for another one. I don't give a fuck how you do ADOS or how you do FBA or B1. I just ask that you do it with me. That's it. That's the lesson from Charlottesville, fam. I don't care what flag you wave, and I don't care about none of that. Do it with me. I don't care if you an ADOS with a gun like my man Black Man. That brother's a gun nut, and we need him. Do that with me, Black man. If Yvette gay, I don't give a damn. If she got a white wife or white woman, I don't care. If Byron Allen married to a white woman, I don't care. I don't even care if Byron Allen is using his argument against Comcast to try to get the bag. You know why? Because just because he can use it to get his own personal bag and then promptly tell ADOS to go fuck themselves doesn't mean that us fighting to preserve that doesn't benefit us. He married to a white woman. Well, what about your civil rights, though? Yvette gay. Okay, well, what about your justice claim, though? Mark Black, an atheist. Okay, but what about this motherfucking advocacy in your lineage, though? 425-296-1980, fam. The line's open. The floor is yours. I hope that you guys feel the passion where I'm coming from. Right? But I hope also, too, that I made a solid argument for why this whole thing is crap. Caller from 413, it's your man Mark Black. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Mark? It's Double C, man.
Double C's, fam. I love you. What's good, fam? Talk to us.
Man. Now, everything you said, I do agree with. But here's what I don't get. Now, whatever you are, ADOS, FBA, now, if you have mutual interests, you would think, okay, let's come together and fight this thing.
You would think.
But see, we find reasons why not to like each other. Mm-hmm. And we argue like a bunch of matriarchal minions. Oh, she's too light-skinned, so she can't be really black. She got one white parent. Her daddy's white. She's with a white. Doesn't matter in the end. It doesn't matter who's. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter where you get. Doesn't matter who's in charge or whatever. And there's lack of a better term.
Right. It doesn't matter.
It's about the work, the data, and the justice claim. Now you heard me say this ad nauseum too behind the scenes. I have a non-ADOS wife. Mm-hmm. Doesn't take away from the fact that I'm a black man. Doesn't mean I don't go through the things that typical ADOS went through. How is it somebody from the Klan can be with whoever they want to be, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they're part of the Klan?
Facts. Brother Cease just brought up a really good point, fam. So I, with your permission, brother, am going to amplify that point. A white supremacist Ku Klux Klan pointed hat Grand Dragon can go home, get his meals cooked by a black woman, have sex with a black woman. He can have babies with this black woman, and there is not a one of his racial or ethnic compatriots who will deny his bona fides if he's put in the work. He can have a household full of mixed babies, and no one will say he can't be the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. But if a black person looks at a white person, they suspect. Can't trust them niggas. They like white folks. Come on now. Bring it home, Cease. Bring it home, fam.
Well, all right. Sorry, I'm a little excited, so if I'm stuttering, forgive me.
Take your time, fam. Take your time.
But, I mean, at one point, that was a rite of passage for them. You know, if you didn't screw a black woman, you weren't really a man in the Klan.
Yep.
And this is what my great-grandma told me this, you know. So, instead of all this back and forth, well, you know, it seems like we have this Highlander mentality. There only could be one. If I'm not the head person in charge, why should this person be in charge? And I don't want to say crabs in the barrel because that's the wrong mentality, but it seems like the division is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Not saying that happened on the other side, but I don't care what happens on the other side. I care what happened on this side.
That's the only place I got to disagree with you. Because although I'm highlighting it, I don't think the division is getting bigger. But I think that we need to be clear about what's actually happening, which is why this broadcast is what it is today. I do not believe that we're actually becoming more divided. I believe that you can see the evidence. When we saw FBA brothers and sisters and ADOS on social media initially going at each other about Tariq's conference, but then understanding that FBA is just saying ADOS. ADOS is just saying DOAS, right? We're starting to pick it up. But the thing is that we gotta go faster. Time waits for no end, right? We don't have the luxury of the continued breaking apart and atomizing across small differences in the whole larger scheme of what benefits our lineage and our heritage. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're all right. We are kind of going at a slow pace, and I think we kind of stalled a little bit with all the infighting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said it seemed okay. Maybe in my mind it seemed bigger than what it really was. But to me, it's ridiculous. Oh well, why are they having all these conferences? Well, why does Tariq want $200,000 for a conference, and why can't you just do it for free and this and that? And I'm like, wait a minute. You have black capitalists. You have people that, all from walks of life, just like anybody else. It doesn't matter who's a messenger. Did you get the message?
Absolutely.
You take that message and put it to work. What can you do?
Facts. Absolutely.
Like I said, I'm not a leader. I know I'm not a leader.
Yes, you are.
I'm a very great supporter.
No, you are a leader. See, that's the thing, right? You were asking, why is it that everybody got to feel like they number one? Because that's ADOS. That's life. Wherever we go, we seek to excel. We seek to be in charge. We seek to be bossing the thing. Part of that comes from insecurities that we hold from the plantation. And part of it just comes from our aspiration, our drive to be the best. See, matter of fact, fam, you lead me every broadcast and you don't even know it. You'll say something in the chat that's insightful, or you'll call in and you'll make a comment, fam, that pierces right through right into the gray matter, fam. If that's not leadership, I don't know what is. Zulu consistently leads me, right? Afro Troop leads me. Adrian leads me. We are all leaders. There's no need for us to try to be the boss of this thing. We share the lineage. We share the heritage. Anybody can be the boss of this thing. And the fact is, Cease, is that if your brother dies tomorrow, and many of you will say, God forbid, and I appreciate you for that. But if I was to die tomorrow, I only have one wish for you. Bury the man and continue the plan. I don't give a damn what you think about how I lived. Did I bring you what you need? Did I connect you to the tie that binds? If I did that, then continue to work. I know you feel me on that, Cease.
Oh, very, very well, very, very well said. But like I said before, and then you're right, because you made a lot of valid points, and sometimes, but even like make a phone call, real talk, whatever, I'll be thinking, I'm like, you know what? I ain't look at it from that perspective. I always talk from this perspective. And sometimes people's perspective are so, it's like the solution is right there, but you can't
But
really
you can't
see it
see
until someone defines it for you. And it's like, oh, that's what it was. Okay. Like I said, and we all should do the work. We shouldn't be worried. I mean, all these little petty, I mean, these are low priority arguments.
Yeah, that's what they are. They're low priority arguments, fam.
Oh, this person don't got to weave. Oh, you sound like a white person, which I find very insulting, by the way. You know, it's a low priority argument. We just arguing like a bunch of babies.
Yeah.
And because see, here's the thing. So somebody says, let's do the work, and okay, now let's pick up steam. Now everybody wants to. That's my whole point. Everybody wants to like be the one, but some people are not qualified. Like I said, black entertainers are not leaders to me. Do what you do best. I don't want to hear Puff Daddy talk about politics, but I know he doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, he hasn't done the work. He hasn't established his bona fides in that space. So his opinion about politics, while it's illuminating, while it might be interesting on a personal level, it holds no binding power or authority with ADOS or with FBA or B1, right? Fam?
Dave Morrison, T.I., that whole Revolt Minstrel show. I'm like, what? I said, they didn't have the right people here debating. This is just a hip hop debate to me.
Cease. We gave Revolt way more power than it actually had.
Yeah, I know.
Let's keep it a buck, family.
2020.
Let's keep it a full ass buck. We gave Revolt more attention than it actually deserved, fam. Revolt was nothing more than entertainment dressed up as a serious discussion. We gave that way too much air. You see what I'm saying? Because there are those out there who are FBA who said, well, Tariq is doing a counter conference to Revolt. I'm saying it openly out here and publicly. If FBA wants to organize to do a conference, go for it. I don't care. If we want to hold 50 conferences in a year for the various acronyms that we all organize around the various personalities that we all organize around, and so on and so forth, I'm perfectly okay with it. Perfectly. I have no issue with it. Because we're all supposedly on the same page, the same space, right? We're all fighting for the same damn thing. If FBA want to do it their way, do it. Now, we ADOS, so we don't have the resources to go to 50 conferences a year. That's another thing that I wanted to address. But before I go into that point, Cease, go ahead, fam. The floor is yours. Did you have something else you wanted to mention, man? Brother Cease, I think, dropped off. Okay. Brother Cease, I appreciate the call. You know, we don't necessarily share the same political and social philosophies or whatever the case may be. You got black capitalists, you got black communists. That's all right, Cease. It's all good, fam. We got black this and black that. Like I said, there's 50,000 different ways we can break apart, atomize, right? We got different ADOS special interests. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, you got black nerds or blurs, you know, which I consider myself one, right? You got black atheists, you got things. But as long as our lineage remains the tie that binds, as long as when we have our Charlottesvilles, everybody shows up, that's the only thing that matters. Caller from 516, it's your man, Mark Black. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's on your mind?
Hey, Mark, this is Universal Mike calling in.
Universal Mike, good to hear from you, fam. Go ahead. What's on your mind, brother? Talk to us.
Well, I'm going to keep it short tonight because I have to get up a little early tomorrow morning. But what I wanted to point out, last week we talked a little bit about the therapy, right? Mm-hmm. Yesterday I got an opportunity to talk to my therapist for a little while. And I had seen, he does or has done podcasts, and he does a lot of interviews. And so I had heard him talking about something that kind of struck, and I thought that it might be a way, at least for myself, to sort of move forward in a more productive way, sort of in tune with what I was talking about on the last call, and that is, he said that as what he recommended in terms of being ADOS and moving forward was that not we as a collective necessarily, but there needed to be a focus on personal development and policy. And those were the two things that he suggested. And I thought, that, at least for where I am right now, might need to be where the pullback is. So not to get caught up in all of the things that you were talking about this evening, which are distractions to a large degree, but work on developing myself to an understanding where that doesn't take place, and also getting the policy taken care of, because at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, right?
Absolutely.
Sort of. So I just wanted to comment on, or make that comment, I guess, this evening.
I appreciate that, fam. And by the way, congrats on getting a chance to talk with your therapist. Personal development is key, right? There's a lot of, as a matter of fact, fam, I'm actually going to address something, because I don't like to just talk about issues, Mike. I like to talk about solutions, right?
Yeah.
So, but to get to solutions, you need to identify where the problem stems from, right? To get to a diagnosis, you got to determine what's the root symptoms, right? The root cause of the illness, right? So there's something that I'm going to talk about here when we're done, that I think is going to illuminate you a bit. So stay tuned. And I appreciate your call, fam.
You're quite welcome. And you have a good evening. I'm going to tune in on the YouTube.
I thank you, sir. Fam, let your brother talk to you for a minute. There's a movie that was done back in 1971. You can find it on YouTube. I'll put the title in the chat. This movie, Goodbye Uncle Tom, was produced by a couple of Italians, right? And this movie was a very realistic, no holds barred, full-on look at how slavery operated here in the United States. Okay? So I'm warning you in advance. The movie's disturbing. It does not flinch from the brutality, the reality of what slavery was for our ancestors here in the United States. All right? Now, there is something, though, that I gathered from this movie, not from this movie. I actually knew about this through my studies of psychology. But there is something that I gathered from this movie and things like it that I want to share with you. Do you all want to know why it's so easy to atomize us as the American descendants of slavery, or FBA, or whatever the case may be? The movie is entitled Goodbye Uncle Tom. It's on YouTube. You can watch it for free, right? When you look at Goodbye Uncle Tom, one of the things that you notice right away, from beginning to end, is that many times when you see brutality being done to our ancestors, it's not a white person that was doing it. Yeah, I know. That sounds like that I'm saying, oh, black people's responsible for slavery. No, we're not. I am not sitting here saying black folks own slaves too. I'm not on no conservative bullshit. Listen to what I'm saying. When you saw these horrible acts being committed against our ancestors, there might be a white person in the room. There might be a white person or two standing nearby. But who is it that's dragging the slave to the whipping post? Somebody that looked like him. Who was it that was dragging the brother who was about to be castrated to the castration shed? Brothers that look like him. This man is crying and screaming, Not my balls. Not my balls. Please, not my balls. Who was it that stood around laughing at his pain, at his struggles, at his suffering? Wasn't white folks. It was one. It was a white woman, a German white woman sitting there laughing, talking about he got snipped. Everybody else in that scene looked like the man who got his ass cut. That's an elephant in the room that we don't want to address. The innate unwillingness to accept on face value anything that another ADOS or FBA person says, the undesiring, or I should say the lack of desire to follow the lead of another ADOS person or another FBA person, right? The almost innate, it seems, hostility shown towards ideas expounded upon, proposed by, supported by other ADOS or FBA people. That comes directly from our experiences in the killing fields on the plantation. Because the elephant in the room is that at a certain point in the evolution of the enslavement of our ancestors, there did not necessarily need it to be white hands directly involved with our oppression, because we had been forced, brutalized, acculturated to continue to do the work of slavery. Yvette says that we are re-enslaved every generation. And I agree. I absolutely agree that we are enslaved every single generation. And just like slavery's greatest iteration was finally putting us to a point where we simply kept the machine running for them, we still today continue to do the work for our continued oppression. That's not to blame us. That's to diagnose the root of the problem. The reason why white folks can come on TV and say there's a air alert for downtown LA, and you go in and you grab your mask and put it on so that you don't aggravate your asthma. But I can tell you, as your brother, that LA's been polluting your air for decades, and you'll dismiss me. That's exactly why we drug that whole ethos right along with us from the plantation. This is why you can go to a doctor and they can just say anything they want to you as long as they don't look like this. As long as they don't share your heritage and your lineage. They can prescribe you with whatever, give you whatever. You believe them whole cloth. But let a black person, let an ADOS person give you some health tips, some health ideas. Even if you don't come out and say it in your head, you're thinking, what the hell does this nigga know? Why do you think that we obsess over educational attainments? Why you have PhDs? Most white PhDs that I'm familiar with don't even give a damn about being called doctor or PhD. They don't care. You just walk up to them and say, hey, Mike, I really like that book you wrote. That was an interesting thesis that you said on such and such and such and such. And they will start a conversation because for them, it's about the idea. But for you, educational attainment is an affirmation of your essential worth. It's an affirmation that you deserve something more. So you're going to make sure to stand on your prerogatives. No, that's Dr. Black to you, sir. We drag that idea straight with us from the plantation. Because the elephant, the great elephant, is that oftentimes when there was ill being done to us. It was others who were in our condition who put us there, right? Do you remember in 12 Years a Slave, Patsy's tied to the whipping post? Was it that white master bae who was whooping her? Mm-mm. Think about it, fam. You talking about a people who were so fucking lazy that they had body slaves. Slaves whose whole job was to feed them, dress them, wash them. Do you think they gonna lift a hand in the dust of the courtyard to spend 15 minutes whooping a slave, sweating, stinking, hot? No. They'll have old Jersey do it. That lineage therapy thing, fam, is gonna be super fucking important. Come really soon, more sooner than we know. Because there are ideations, there are trauma that we have brought directly from the plantation that if we don't find a way to heal from, is going to hinder our efforts to press home the justice claim we all claim we want. And that's a fact. There's a brother that I follow on Twitter called Yurima Karama who talked about this recently. And he showed a report on Fox News about an issue with romaine lettuce. And he said, I've been watching so many of you say that the Harriet Tubman movie is bullshit. All these black folk that gave reviews that got the chance to pre-see it and so on and so forth, right? Gave reviews talking about the diminishment, the denigration, the disrespect of our great ancestress. But many black folks said, I don't give a damn what them niggas is talking about. I got to go see it for myself. So Urema was like, well, if you feel like that, then let's be fair. When the white man tell you don't eat the lettuce, I'm going to need you to go ahead and eat that lettuce and find out for yourself if the lettuce is bad or not, right? When they tell you that the air quality's bad and this, that, and the third, I'm going to need you to go out there and be taking full, deep breaths of that shit. I need you to go and find out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Don't take your brother or sister's word for what's going on in our collective reality that we all know we face. No. You need to find out for yourself, right? You can't trust what these niggas is telling you. So I'm going to need you to go your ass out there and live next to that nuclear power plant. I'm going to need you to go on here and believe Obama when he put that motherfucking glass under that faucet in Flint and supposedly drank the water. I'm going to need you to drink the water. I'm going to need you to find out for yourself. Don't take them white folks' word for it. Don't believe what they talking about. I'm going to need you to find out for yourself. I'm going to need you to be fair. If I come to you with a particular datum or a series of data points, he didn't drink the water, we know that. But my point is that how often, fam, do you come to your people and their initial stance before they even hear what it is you have to say is a stance of disbelief? An automatic denial of the truth of what you're expressing. An automatic questioning of your veracity. But they don't extend that to the greater society at large. Even though we could clearly argue that the greater society at large has more of an incentive to lie to you than I do. What? Tell me this, as your brother, as a powerless nobody like you, what incentive do I have to spin you yarns? To sit here on YouTube for 2 hours or better talking shit to you? Right? Like, what do I gain from that? There's not Schadenfreude enough in the world for me to get any real benefit out of coming on here and spinning you yarns, talking out of my ass. It's not like y'all paying me, right? But I will come here and consistently tell you things that the greater society at large have been telling you over and over again. Exactly, Adrian. Who was it that knocked your teeth out to force feed you because you was valuable property and they didn't want you to die? Wasn't me. Who was it that sat up there and haggled your ancestors away, not even body-wise, sometimes by the pound? They sometimes bought our ancestors by the pound. Wasn't me. Who is it that sat there during the day writing that all men are created equal with inalienable rights, and at night raping a slave? That wasn't me. It wasn't nobody that looked like me. But they could tell you anything and you'll believe it. And you discount me before I even can open my mouth. O'Shea wasn't wrong. There's a bunch of us who still think like him, who are looking for reasons to break the tie because of the innate hostility that we've dragged kicking and screaming with us off the plantation, because of that immediate questioning of the veracity of your brother or sister. They in the same position as you, so they don't know nothing more than you know. That's a non sequitur. Simply because you share the same lineage and the same heritage doesn't mean that y'all had completely the same experience. There's black folk that have had the opportunity, if not to be on the levers of power, at least nearby people who have been on the levers of power, who have tried to tell you how the power structure operates, but they're conspiracy theorists. What do them niggas know? They on some old Alex Jones shit. But how many black people can quote Alex Jones chapter and verse? I said I'm a conspiracy nut. Alex Jones said he understands the mechanisms, the workings of the deep state. Make it make sense. So I'm gonna need you to be consistent. If you're not gonna believe me, fine, don't believe me. Don't believe them either. I need you to figure it out for yourself. And if you survive it, let us know. Fam, it's getting close to the time when Sister Yvette will be broadcasting. I know she's going to come with the fire as usual. I'm open to take one more call, right? 425-296-1980. Y'all have been great to me today, by the way, fam. Shout out again to our Jizzle, Cool Unc, Sister Alicia, Miss Denny. I appreciate the financial support. Again, $1.50. I don't give a damn. You gave it from the kindness of your heart. And I take it in the spirit in which it was offered. I really appreciate y'all. 425-296-1980. We'll take one more call. Oh, Black Man, is she not doing a show tonight? Can anybody else confirm that Yvette's not broadcasting tonight? Oh, she's not broadcasting tonight. Well, shit. Then we'll ride this until till the wheels fall off. 425-296-1980, fam. The lesson from Charlottesville is still as true today as it was then, because it's the same lesson that we've needed to learn in our whole 400 years here. Our successes all came from understanding that lesson, that we can be different as all get out, but to defeat our historic and current oppressors, we got to have a tie that binds that cannot be broken. Caller from 903. This is Black Man. What's good, fam? Talk to us.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Sir, you know me, living the dream, right? ADOS all day, every day.
All right. Hey, I just wanted to call and say, really showing out. I really enjoyed it, about the whole thing about your vet and everything.
Thank
What
you, sir.
everybody's sitting there saying, because everybody has skeletons in their closet, so ain't nobody getting away with nothing.
Oh man, you got to
But
either be a saint or something to even have anything to say positive on ADOS. It seemed like an
no,
impossible ass standard.
I wanted to say a show that I seen the other day, and I hope everybody may be able to check it out. It was on Netflix, but it was called The Black Godfather, and it's based on a story about Clarence Avant. It's a documentary or like a biography about him. But if anybody has the time, it's 2 hours long. But if anybody has the time, I really hope some people really watch that and see what true power really looks like. You know what I mean? It was really good. But anyways, Mark, I want to tell you about my update on my NAACP meeting.
Go ahead, fam. Holla at us.
All right. So everybody knows that I went and called in, and looked at the website and everything like this. So they called me today, and they asked me, what can I offer, what can I do, and so on and so forth. I explained a little bit what I do, what I can and can't do, or what I'm willing to do, rather.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, can you tell me a little bit about the organization and what y'all are about? Well, the NAACP stands for National Association of Advancement of People of Color. I said, what?
What?
I said, yeah, we don't just represent black people. We represent colored people. So people of color, we represent everybody. So I started thinking to myself, I was like, oh, wow. So I didn't say anything more. And she offered me to come to the Christmas party on December 12th. I said, okay, I'll be there. But I called my uncle later on, and I asked him. I said, so if you had only so many dollars and you're trying to represent everybody, how do you get down to the basics of representing black folks as a whole then? If you're only down to so many dollars, you only raise this much money, you have to be able to say, well, this much money we raise, we have to be able to put this towards ADOS. We can't put this towards illegal immigration. But she said, no, we have to do all that together. We have to separate some of that money from there to put it over to there to go ahead. I'm like, wow. And I was really disturbed by when she was sitting there saying this to me. But at the same time, I look really forward to it because at the same time, I'm interested on how I could take over. You know
right.
what I mean? I'm really interested in saying the things about Harriet. Really interested in saying the things about the ADOS movement itself.
Yeah.
And seeing how they perceive it. You know what I mean? And I don't even plan on bringing up anything about guns this time.
Not yet, huh?
No, seriously, I'm strictly going to go from a strict standpoint of ADOS, period, point blank. Nothing more, nothing less. And see at the Christmas party how it's perceived or how it's taken in other words.
Yeah.
And that was my thought for today. That's
Fam,
what it was.
Before you go, I want to ask you something. And first of all, I want to comment. I think that what you did was smart, right? As you well know, I'm a huge fan of the Socratic method, right? Which is to teach through asking questions, right? Tone is a real big proponent of the Socratic method, and that's something him and I share in common. I like to ask questions to get people to think, to learn. So that question you dropped was boom, right? The thing I want to say to you is that it took generations for the NAACP to go from the advancement of colored people, which was just another name for black people, which was just another name for Negroes and niggas, whatever you want to call us, right? Back in the day, to now being for the advancement of all people of color, right? It took time for that to occur, right? It's going to take time for you to change minds and hearts. There's a lot of people who feel like that their motivations is to so another thing about us as ADOS, remember that whole desire to be on top, to be the leader of shit, right?
Right.
We got to lead even when it's not to our benefit, right? If we're going to be involved with an organization, even if that organization's operating principles are not to our benefit, we got to be the ones that believe the hardest, right? Because nobody fights harder than a true believer, right? And ADOS are the dreamers of America. We are the believers. We are the ones who continue America. And I mean
Exactly.
America in the
Right.
mental sense, right? We maintain the construct of America. Nobody else gives a fuck about America, right? Nobody
Right.
gives a fuck about inalienable rights and this, that, and the third. If they cared so much about that, they would fight where they come from to get those things. Nah, they'll come and take
Exactly. That's what
advantage of those things
I
here.
said that a million times. I said, where is your Martin Luther King or your Malcolm X down there where you live at?
Yeah.
Where's your Medgar Evers from where you come from? Who's doing that? Why didn't you take that spot? Why didn't you do that? Because nobody wants to catch the bullet a lot of times. And I told you this before. One of the hardest things I ever organized was a union over there. It was in Longview, Texas, for meter readers at a power company. That was one of the. And I was in my 20s back then. Like I said, now I'm 49, going to turn 50. And that was one of the hardest things I had ever done at that young in my life. And you talking about stressful. It was really bad. It was really, really bad. But I hope at this time in my life, I had the patience, I had the understanding, I have a lot more wisdom, like you say, failing ahead, to take it in a different direction.
Yes,
and
sir.
hopefully, again, those people from Longview or in Tyler will want to be a part of that ADOS movement and will come into there and help us do the work to take it over. Because she said she was 49 as well, and she's been with the organization for 20 years, and I've been here for 23 years, I think it is. And I ain't seen the NAACP do too much of anything on that I've heard, through the news, through media, through the radio station, anything.
Yeah.
So I would really be surprised if it wouldn't be a soft pushover. You know what I mean? In terms of getting in there, because it doesn't seem like there's too much really being done. Like I heard you want to always sit there and say, "Oh, we're at my summer luncheon. We're going to have a fall luncheon. We're going to have a summer," that kind of stuff. Oh, there's gonna be food there. Okay, but
hey, you know what Professor Black Truth said about them luncheons, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say, right? Exactly. So that's what I'm gonna say. So you're talking about the food being there. I'm talking about who's gonna be there speaking. What kind of fundraiser are we gonna be doing? What are we looking at to do? For the new year. This is what we're gonna be talking about for the new year. Are we just gonna be having our Christmas party? Not our Christmas fundraiser for the new such and such, or talking about who we're going to be voting for, who we're going to be trying to put in the office, or what we're trying to do. It was like you said. The first thing she mentioned was food. We're going to be having a luncheon and like it was really great. Like no, it's not. I'm like, wow, everything that you're hearing from y'all is really being said. In these areas, it's facts.
They're able to continue on right now, fam, because at this particular point, they are no threat to the system of oppression that keeps justice from ADOS. We know they're not threats because they're still an extant organization.
Right.
This is not to say that every organization that's defunct was somehow a threat or anything like that, or this isn't to say that should they go defunct or whatever, that they were a threat. This is just simply to say that we've got enough experience in this game to know who's really shaking the trees to see what falls out and who's not, right? Project Takeover is about, as far as I understand it, fam, getting our foot in the door and changing the conversation, right?
Exactly.
It's about changing from luncheons to data. It's about changing from constant wool gathering and brainstorming to actually putting action into play and boots on the ground, right? So I want you to keep that same spirit, fam, as you have, right? Go in there like a shark, you know what I mean? Looking for your opportunities to pray, looking for opportunities to shift thought processes, to change minds, to alter agendas, because that's your job. As a proponent, as a member of Project Takeover, your job is to become the shark amongst the tuna fish.
Oh yeah. Like I said, when I did it in my 20s, it was really hard because it was so hard to make people understand. But like you said, the more you ask questions, the more you make people think. Like my ex-wife went to go see Harriet. Don't know why, but I asked her, my aunt, and some other people went. And I called my uncle today. They didn't even understand the movie in itself. When I came back and I was asking her questions about the movie, my daughter was there. She said, "Mom, is that true?" And she said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, why did you go see it then?"
Yeah.
Well, at the time you didn't know, but I'm still sitting there saying, if you would have been looking around or had more research done on the movie, or been a part of what we're trying to do here, you would have known that.
Yeah.
But no, they looked at it as, oh, it's Harriet Tubman, it's Harriet Tubman. And they didn't really look at it was what it was all about. And now she's looking at it maybe in a little bit different light.
We have to. We don't have the luxury of facile, surface interactions with the greatest dominant society at large. We don't. We truly never had it, right? But we've been sold a bill of goods to think that, everything is kind of everything. And so we can treat America like white folks treat America. White folks don't give a fuck. They'll go and watch a movie where it's a bunch of white people getting blown up and buildings on fire and people getting, they don't care, right? Because they don't have to care. They don't have to be concerned that that's something that's going to happen to them, fam. But we as ADOS, as FBA, we don't have the luxury of ignoring messages put out by the media. We have to question all of our media, including the new black media, right? One of the issues, fam, and let me run this by you before you go. But one of the issues that I have sometimes with the new black media is that we have built the new black media on a basis of veracity, right? On telling the truth, right?
Right.
But some of us are getting to a point where now when people ask questions, they getting smoked. How you gonna question me? I've got, X number of, movies out and this, that, and the third. And, I predicted X and predicted Y. Well, you know what? Past performance is not indicative of future results, brother. Like, simply because you've been right, 1,000 times before, we only need to follow you when you're wrong once. For all of that to fall the fuck apart, right? So, make sure that you continue, whoever it is that you view and get your information from, whether it's your brother Mark Black, which I hope you stay doing, or Jason Black, or Professor Black Truth, or Tariq, or Yvette. None of these people, none of us are above reproach. None of us are above critique. But make sure that when you critique us, that you're critiquing the ideas that we're expounding or the data that we're bringing. If you have a legitimate issue, make sure to let it be known. We can't keep getting caught up in these cults of personality where we just accept whole cloth what people be saying. I don't give a damn how many movies somebody's done. I don't care how great the movies was. Today,
that's why I told my wife, this book, something historically based. Now you're playing with a historically based person. It'd be no different from Denzel Washington going overseas and going playing Churchill in a movie.
Exactly.
That's not true. That's not.
Oh, wait a minute. That would be like a movie.
Would be going out. What the hell y'all doing? That's not. But when it happens in our community, and we sit there and say the same thing, now it's a big old problem.
Absolutely. That would be like if somebody played Winston Churchill, who actually was saved in his prime ministership by a Nazi who loved him secretly, right. And this, that, like, we're not even talking about, maybe Denzel. I think Denzel would kick ass as Churchill, right? But that's not the point, right? They completely take the story and turn it ass in over tea kettle when it comes to our history, and then we supposed to sit here and just lie down for that?
Right. There you go, 100%. Hey, Mark Black, as always, appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
I look forward to the show.
I appreciate it, fam. Thank you so much for your call.
Right.
Yeah, fam. I mean, look, there is none of us, right? I'm telling you, the day that my angry black sheep feel like that they can't question me, my fellow angry black sheep, by the way, because I'm an angry black sheep. I am an angry black sheep, right? I'm a part of this herd. If you're looking at me as the boss of this herd, you better make sure you damn well hold me accountable, because the last thing I need is to go from an angry black sheep to a Judas goat. But if I got nobody who's willing to keep me accountable, if everybody hangs on every fucking word I say, if everybody accepts everything I say whole cloth, then we got a problem, fam. That includes the new black media as well as the bootlicks, the bootleg class, and everything. Right? Everybody knows I love Yvette till the cows come home, but I don't automatically buy whole cloth everything she says. I do the work. And what's cool about Yvette is she tells you to do the work. She tells you, take the data that I'm giving you and make sure that it's solid. And come back and correct me if it's not. Anybody who claims to be an influencer needs to be open to being influenced by you just as much as they're open to influencing you. Y'all teach me something in every broadcast. Otherwise, I'm not doing this influencer thing right. I need that feedback from y'all. That's why I open up the phone lines. This ain't no damn dialogue if I don't have a conversation with you. If I'm not open to hear what you have to say, we can disagree. And we should disagree. If I'm off kilter, if I'm off point, I need to know it. If I'm not standing on my square, I need to know it. But just like I need to know it, you need to know it when you're not standing on your square. And when it comes to this, trying to atomize ourselves into different little acronyms and different little shit, and these little cults of personality, and taking what people say as whole cloth and all this and that and the third, you ain't right. There's only one tie that binds us all. There's only one thing that will bring about our Charlottesville, and that is our lineage and our heritage. Cleave to that, and the rest of it you're gonna have to kind of leave behind. There's a lot of shit that black folk do that I'd be like I just can't truck with. But you'll never hear from me. Why? Because it don't matter. In the grand scheme of standing in the shoes of our ancestors and bringing home this justice claim, none of the stuff that I don't like about you sometimes doesn't matter. It just simply does not matter at this point. Nobody is above reproach. Nobody. I don't care who they are. People got mad because Yvette said some things about Dr. Claude Anderson. I love Dr. Claude Anderson. I've read Powernomics. I've watched every video I think this man has ever had recorded. I don't agree 100% with Dr. Claude Anderson. I don't think he's an authority on every damn thing. I don't hang on to his words like gospel. He's a man. He has biases. He has blind spots. He has flaws, foibles. Now, it's not my job as his brother to sit there and publicly highlight what every last one of those are, but it is my job as his brother to hold him to account, which means that even if I don't speak it, sometimes I have to act differently than what he's talking about. That's the way it's got to be. I may not truck with everything Tariq says, or Jason Black says, or Yvette or Tone says, but you'll never hear from me. We talk about being on code all the time, fam. But you know what codification is? Codification is systematized action. Systematized. That means codes don't alter except to take into account new data. Right? If you find that one of the people that you interacting with is on some shady shit, then being on code means you call their asses out. It means that you question them, where they coming from. But as long as they doing them and they not hurting the collective, I don't care. And neither should you. That's the lesson from Charlottesville. They didn't give a damn who was flying what flag or what title they called themselves, whether they called themselves a Nazi or a 3%er or whatever. They didn't care about none of that. They went down there and they represented. If we want to have our own Charlottesville, we're going to have to do the same. It's as simple as that. If we want to bring home this justice claim, we are going to have to do the same damn thing. Fly your flag. Wear your uniform. Stand on what you stand on. Call yourself whatever acronym you call yourself, whether it's FBA or ADOS or DOAS or whatever. I don't care. But when it comes time for Charlotte, for Charlottesville, for us, your ass need to be there. Not yet. I was trying to watch it, little lady. I'm going to watch it after this broadcast is over, as a matter of fact, because I really want to watch it. Fam, thank you so much. It's like 20 after the hour where you are, right? We've had some great calls. And I've got work to do. I love Malcolm, so I definitely want to check out the ballot or the bullet. I believe from what I did hear from the ballot and the bullet or the bullet, he was talking about our political engagement and stuff like that, right? Little lady seems to think that he laid out the blueprint. It wouldn't be the first time that Malcolm X said something that was insightful to the point. So I'm certain I'm going to hear something I'm going to take away from it. But family, I just want to have you understand something here. If you take away nothing else from this broadcast, stop denigrating your brothers and sisters who ain't on what you own. I know some of you got issues with gay people or with lesbian and transgender bisexual people, right? I know some of you got issues with broke ass niggas like myself, right? Ghetto hood children. I know you got your issues with us, right? You don't like the loud mouthness and the brashness and the uncouthness, right? I get it. I know some of you got your issues with the lack of educational attainment, right? You worked hard for your PhD and you just can't stand people who speak unintellectually or who aren't used to working around and bandying about intellectual ideas. You feel me? I get it, fam. I get it. The ballad of the bullet, Zulu. But fam, you gotta let that shit go. You gotta let it go. That's not saying that you're wrong to hold your point of view. Like I said, there's as many ways to be us as there is us. If you highbrow and you don't like, low-key, so-called ghetto-ass niggas, that I get it, right? I get it. Right? Do you? But our Charlottesville is coming, fam. And the last thing that I would want when it is our turn to stand up and be counted is that we've allowed all of the old things that have traditionally kept us atomized and blown apart to have us where our Charlottesville turns out to be a non-issue, a non-starter. We don't have that luxury, fam. We don't have it. So, fam, with that, it has been my honor, as always, my pleasure, my sacred duty to come to you today on this fine hump day and bring you a word. Hopefully something I said gave you a place to stand, introduced to you an idea that is taking root for the betterment and the benefit of your tribe, because we truly are family. When I call you fam, I mean it. We are family, right? So with that said, fam, I'm going to leave you all, as always, with wishes of love, peace, prosperity, and power. Real power to our people.